Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pros and Cons, episode 2. We are your hosts, Presley
and Carlos.
All right. So just to get things rolling right now, the first topic that we're going to start talking about is con crunch. And I know this is something that all of us have been through at least one point in our cosplaying career. It's almost unavoidable to avoid con crunch. So just for a personal anecdote for me, this actually happened recently, is when I was going to Anime Pasadena, and I was actually going to go meet up with Carlos, and I did not have my Spider-Man suit finished yet, and it still isn't finished, but I will get into those details in a bit. So a little before, I think the convention was in November, so it was around October, I want to say, where I finally decided to get one of the zippers replaced because one of the zippers was broken. And it was out the zipper, obviously I can't zip up, and the puff painting wasn't done for the costume yet. So it had to have been a week before the con. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get it repaired. I'm going to go finish the puff painting. Okay, so the zipper repair took 1 day. They were actually very fast with it, and they only charged me $20, which was amazing. And I went to go puff paint it, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing pretty good progress right now. At the same time, I was also working on Carlos's Spider-Man costume, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta get double the amount of puff paint for everything. So I'm just speeding everything along. Some of the lines looked kind of messy on my costume, just because I was trying to go as fast as I can. And I'm about to glue the symbols on at the Airbnb that I'm at because I was supposed to wear it to the after party. And I'm trying to zip up the costume, and the other zipper breaks. Another zipper breaks for the costume, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. This costume was just supposed to be unfinished. So it's still hanging up in my closet right now, still waiting to be fixed up, symbols glued on. Some of the puff painting still needs to be done. But yeah, that's my con crunch experience. I don't know if you have anything to say about this, Carlos?
Con crunch. Oof. Man, I don't even know where to start with that. I know that for con crunch, I know we all have our specific cons that we crunch the most for, but yeah, I don't know how it is for you for San Diego Comic Con. I imagine it's some kind of crunch, but because me and my friends usually we do have a lot of stuff outside of just doing cons. So sometimes we don't get to do con stuff or wig prep until literally the night before, or maybe 2 nights before, if we're lucky. But this year looks like it's gonna be a little better. But usually, what ends up happening is like the night before, we're up like at 9 p.m., which we should be in sleep. We should be asleep at that point. We're literally styling our wigs for the next day. And literally running off of fumes because we're just like we just ironed our cosplays. And put them on coat hangers. We just did the wigs, or we're doing the wigs, and then we also have to prep whatever else we need for the day. I know that that's a day that we usually, if we end up parking in the parking structure for AX, we also plan to go buy some groceries to kind of make sandwiches to pack in a cooler. If we want to kind of, come out of the con to get food from the car we have in the cooler in the back. Because usually most of those parking lots are underground, so it stays pretty cool in there. So you're kind of able to keep a cooler in there that will hold your food for a while. But man, not for the faint of heart. I will say it could definitely make or break a morning. I'll tell you that. But usually after the morning, you kind of get around it. Usually, some people have pick me ups where they do caffeine. Some people just go, do it raw. Like me, I straight raw dog that thing. I do it. I get there. We get there like at 6, 7. We line up. We keep going till we're out like around 6 p.m. Granted, I would not recommend people do this because I'm built different or probably just crazy. But that's just the way I do it. But I don't know if you have something similar in that kind of way, Preston. We have a con that you unfortunately have to crunch for. Besides, like the Spider-Man cosplays you mentioned. Like, have you ever had to kind of like go pick up something last minute or have to get something to make up for something?
Yeah, definitely. And in the sense of being built different, I think we're just crazy. But that was never like out of the ordinary. But Definitely for me, this actually happened the most recent San Diego Comic Con. It actually had to do with the same Spider-Man costume because I got that on Instagram from a person in Peru. His name is Prop Spidey. He does amazing fabrics and everything. Like his costumes are 10 out of 10. But I got it in a kit because it was a lot more cheaper. Obviously, when you get stuff in a kit, that takes off about 400, I want to say, dollars, just because, the maker doesn't have to spend time doing all the extra work that you can do. And, I get to save a little bit of money. And I placed the order back then in, I want to say, February or March. And I was like, oh, okay, it should be done by the time San Diego Comic Con comes around. So it's the day before San Diego Comic Con, and I still don't have it. And I think it's a couple days before I go to San Diego, and he tells me, "Oh yeah, hey, it's ready. Where do you want me to ship it?" And luckily for me, I was gonna room with a family member that I have down in San Diego, and I gave them their address. And I was like looking at the update page. I'm like, "Is it here yet? Is it here yet? Maybe I can puff paint this in 2 days." Note to self, you cannot puff paint a Spider-Man costume in 2 days, especially if you're going to Comic-Con at the same time. Don't try it. And it finally gets there on Saturday. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I can finish it in 1 day. Maybe I can do it all in 1 day. You cannot do it in 1 day. I figured that out. So it just definitely sucked because I was waiting for that costume for a pretty long time. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to really show out at San Diego Comic-Con. I really want this to be my definitive Raimi Spider-Man cosplay. But it just, still to this day, has just not happened.
No, that's definitely clutch that the vendor was willing to send it over to your family members in San Diego. That, dude, I don't know what I would have done, man, if that wasn't something I could have done. It's good that they kind of caught you at a time where you're like, okay, I can still prep for this, I can plan for this event. But besides, Con Crunch, what's it like for you to get into character, man? Because I know that when it comes to Spider-Man stuff, I know that I like to get in front of the mirror and maybe do a few poses, like do Toby's. He's like where he's trying to shoot webs in Spider-Man 1. He's like, go, fly. He's like, up and away then. It's so dumb, bro.
Yeah.
But it's silly,
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely feels silly in the moment when you are trying to prep to get into character. But, I mentioned this in the previous podcast before, but when you are cosplaying, you either have two choices. You can either just dress up or you can try to embrace the character. So usually for me, like warming up for it is a lot of physical warming up because cosplaying as Spider-Man is definitely a more physical cosplay. It's a more demanding on your body. That's just because, you're doing poses from the comics and the movies, and these require you to get down really low, squat down super low, and it kind of recruits all of your muscles in lower body. So that's like your hamstrings, your glutes, your calves, and your quads. You are putting a lot of your weight onto your legs, and it can be really tiring a lot of times. I know I've almost cramped up because I just wasn't prepared and I didn't prepare myself correctly for the poses. And it really sucks because I'm trying to hold this pose until the person's done getting a shot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need them to hurry up. I'm about to cramp up right now. So for me, it's a lot of stretching. My quads, those are really important to stretch out beforehand. And even when I'm at the gym, I like to prioritize workouts that hit my glutes just because I know that's what is recruited when I am squatting down. But even just doing like basic research of the character, not to say I do research for Spider-Man, just because I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on who he is and how he acts and how he moves. And that even goes for like different iterations of like, oh, this is how Toby moves, this is how Andrew moves, and this is how Tom moves. But for something new like Wolverine, where I'm just kind of new to the character, and I'm like, what kind of poses does Wolverine do that I can do? And he had a lot of basic poses. It's like you can just Google it and just look it up. But Wolverine was one of those characters where I didn't really embody the character of him, just because it's very different, especially for someone like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, where or just Wolverine in a general sense, where he basically is a dick. Wolverine is a dick, and it's kind of hard to be that character when you're not really good at acting. So it's very hard.
No, yeah, I definitely agree, man. Actually, before I touched on what you mentioned right now last, the thing about stretching, I've actually, this is embarrassing. I've actually pulled something when I was doing a Spidey pose when I went to a mini convention nearby where I live. I forget its name. It was like a PC Media Expo. That one was really fun. I pulled something that day. That's it was not fun. So I would definitely recommend stretching and stuff like that. And I think that when it comes to researching characters, sorry, when it comes to researching characters, I think that being familiar with media already is a big help, especially, because you're pretty familiar with Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man, but if I were to kind of, like we have a contest, I think you get a bit of their swinging styles a little different, a little better than mine, than how I would understand it. What I will say is that I think for me, a character that I had to research and how to embody was this character from a show called Comey Can't Communicate. Cute show, very nice show, nothing crazy. But there's a character in it. Their name is Najimi, and I think as it stands, the character doesn't have a defined gender. They kind of like flop between the two. They're kind of gender fluid. So I didn't want to offend anybody when I dressed up as this, so I did do a little research on that just to make sure I don't do anything that is like seems offensive to anybody or along those lines, and also just kind of see like the mannerisms because when you're taking pictures of people, whether it be a person that's a fan of the content, or with your friends if you're doing a group cosplay, it's important to always try to have at least some basic idea of how they might pose, so you don't end up just always doing an awkward peace sign, which sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I end up doing just because I get a little shy and I sometimes just resort to the old peace sign.
Yeah, totally. It's kind of hard to avoid doing the peace sign because it's just like a last resort. It's like, oh, okay, I don't know how to pose right now. Hey, you're from an anime, kawaii, and you
Literally, dude.
put up your two fingers.
Dude, it's like your ult, bro. It's like you're ulting at the start of a match, bro. You're just pulling up your like.
It really is, honestly.
So yeah, what I was gonna say is also that besides prepping for a character, what do you do when you're prepping for taking that costume? 'Cause I don't know. Sometimes I go in costume to a con already if it's like not too heavy or crazy, and I don't feel like it'll get messed up if I when I'm driving. But sometimes I end up taking it in a bag or suitcase or the wig. I'll bring it on the wig head. I don't know what are your things when you're traveling with your cosplays.
That's a great question. So usually it depends on how far I am from the convention center. I know for Pasadena, I just showed up in my costume, and that's just because it was more comfortable that way. I will say when you bring a costume to the convention and you have to change there, it's a lot more challenging. You run into a lot more obstacles because you're basically changing in a bathroom, and usually at conventions, for the most part, bathrooms do have a very long wait time. You are there for quite a while, 10 minutes plus, I would say. And, everyone's waiting and they're like, why is this guy taking so long? And it's just because you're putting on your costume. I know for Comic-Con and because we take the shuttles, I usually just show up in my costume as well. It's very funny because we park kind of nearby civilization, I would say. And when we're walking and, I feel like I'm getting these weird looks from people. I'm like, oh, is that Spider-Man? Like just out of nowhere. But most of the people in San Diego are now pretty accustomed to seeing cosplayers during the San Diego Comic-Con time. But I know for wigs, I've personally never have worn a wig, but my brother has because he did a cosplay before. And he did the same thing as you, Carlos. He brought it on a wig stand of like the mannequin head, just because, when you put a wig in a bag, it's prone to getting messed up. So you try to find ways to keep it as safe as possible. But yeah, for me, I just usually just show up. I just show up in the cosplay just because it's most convenient for me.
No, that's definitely fair. That's interesting to hear, as sometimes it's kind of a pain when you're moving from one place to another with the cosplay that's pretty heavy. And the last tidbit on this is that, like, especially for one time that I did the Mario cosplay with my friends, the girls have these big dresses, dude. And it's like, thankfully they're two-parters where it's like a basic dress. It's like the dress, and then it has like, if you're into a quinceañera or like to a wedding, the bride's dresses usually have this like springs that help it hold in a certain shape. So that's usually what they have under, and dude, it's not terrible, but sometimes, like, because it's such a pain to put on, they literally sometimes get in the car with the springs on, and oh gosh, it is a hassle. That's why sometimes I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's stick to an easier cosplay, just to avoid the travel time it's going to take us to get this to go where we need to go.
Yeah, just getting ready for conventions beforehand usually is the best bet, especially for newcomers. If you're thinking about going to conventions cosplaying, it might be better just to show up in the cosplay, even if you are the one driving. But if you have access to a hotel, that'll make things a lot easier just because you can get ready at a hotel. And when you feel like taking off the costume whenever you want to, you can just go back to your hotel and just take it off. But to jump to our next topic, we're going to talk about spending money at conventions. So this is a big topic for both me and Carlos because we are both known for impulse spending at conventions. Just to start off with mine, so at my first anime convention, Pasadena for 2023, it's like a whole entire new experience because I'm not really used to it. And I'm just kind of like, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. So I go to like multiple artists and I'm like, okay, so I want to get one print. And they're like, oh, okay. But then usually if you go to conventions, it's like, oh, okay. But if you buy 2 or 3 prints, it's going to be so X amount. And you're like, oh, okay. I can get 3 prints for this price. And that'll be cheaper than me just buying 3 prints separately. Say less. So then you go, at least for me and my brother, we're like, okay, I'm going to buy 2 prints. Do you want a print? Oh, okay, for sure. So then we just go bam, 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 bam. We start spending all this money on art and stickers. And next thing you know, I look at my bank account and I don't want to talk about it. So yeah, spending at conventions can definitely get out of hand if you aren't responsible.
Definitely. Spending at cons it's really something, man. I usually try to do my strat of, walking through everything before you buy anything, which is something that I learned very hard when I first go. For Press, it was his first time at an anime convention. For me, it was my first time at a convention outside, like a major convention outside of an anime one, which is WonderCon. That one was I don't know if you remember that one, Presley, but remember when we literally barely walked into the damn, what was it, the artist alley? And on that first booth, I dropped like 150.
Oh yeah, I definitely remember that. And it was a big lesson learned for you. But yeah, like what Carlos said, you should really just walk around the entire exhibit hall first and artist alley first before you really set your mind to buying something, especially at smaller conventions, just because, at least from my personal experience, smaller conventions end up having more figurines and toys rather than bigger conventions like Comic-Con, where at most points in Comic-Con there is just t-shirts. So I don't really impulse spend that much anymore. It also helps that I've been there for like 8+ years now, so I kind of know my way around the exhibit hall. And I already know what's going to be there. But it is just very important just to look around first, because there are going to be multiple vendors there that do sell the same thing. Let's say you want a figurine from this vendor and it's $60, and the price is set. Maybe if you walk around a little more, you could find it for 45 or maybe 50. And even though that's a very small price change, like we say all the time, everything does add up. So just make sure, even if it's something that you really, really, really want, it's very hard. I understand. I've been in that same place where it's something that you know that you would kill for this item, and you're like, oh, I just really want it. Just try your best to resist and be like, okay, I seen it. I listed where it's at. It's at this aisle, this number. Okay, I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to walk around, see if I can find it. And this is a good topic to talk about also, what you should avoid buying and, seeing and identifying bootlegs, because bootlegs are very prominent now, especially in the anime scene, especially with all these statues coming out. I think I saw a video that someone at an anime convention was selling bootlegs, and that's just because sometimes people just don't know better. And because, you see it from afar and you're like, oh, okay, it looks fine. And you get it and it's like, okay, the paint looks a little weird. The eyes are a bit misplaced. Maybe it's just like a manufacturing error. But next thing you know, it's a bootleg. You look on AliExpress, you can get the same thing for about 10, 20 bucks when you spent maybe 50 bucks. It's just, oh man, I just wasted a bunch of money. And as this is especially prominent with like figurines, like toys, I know for me at least, it wasn't a convention, but it was a place called Frankensons that's in LA. And I remember I went there recently and I'm just looking at all the toys because I was trying to find the SH Figure Arts Spider-Man and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I'm looking around this one booth and I see a very like comic accurate Spider-Man toy. It was from Mafex. And I'm like, oh, that's super cool. I've been actually wanting this toy for a very long time. But if you look on the box, you can see that it says CT Toys. And CT Toys is a bootleg company that makes very high quality bootlegs. And it's not that I have a problem with buying bootlegs. It was just because the price was very inflated. The price was $40, where you can buy it on AliExpress for $15 to $20. And I'm like, hell no, I am not buying that. And I just walked around. I couldn't find anywhere. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. I can always just buy it off of AliExpress. And similar to things like what you should avoid buying is, I can't really find the word for it, but they are mass, trying to think of the word. It's basically, okay, drop shipped stickers. Carlos knows what I'm talking about, but if you're a newer convention goer, you might not know. So usually you will find a bunch of sticker booths around a convention, and that's no surprise there. Everybody loves stickers. Put on your water bottles, put on anything, you're good. For the most part, some of these stickers are just drop shipped, and you can get these on AliExpress for $1 to $2. And usually, for the most part, they do feel a little cheaper, or they will be these lenticular stickers, like 3D stickers. And, in the moment, you're like, oh, okay, this is super cool. Oh, this is a Dragon Ball 1. You can see Vegeta going to Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan 3. Oh, that's super cool. I need to get it. But, then you realize you can just get it off of AliExpress for a couple bucks.
Mm-hmm. That's 100% definitely the case for a lot of things. And as you mentioned earlier, when you looked up the stuff for the Spider-Man figure at Frankenstein's, which that place is overpriced. They overpriced everything there. I would say it's a good price. Just also when you're walking around, you see something you like, look up how much it is online compared to the price they're selling to you. If it's at least $10 more, it's fine. But if it's like more than that, maybe consider looking around a little more first. Because, hey, although they're trying to make a profit, you're trying to save money, So just try to use your best judgment to kind of, if you want to get something. If you really want it in that moment, go ahead. But remember, you could have saved those extra bucks for, I don't know, a burger or a snack. But yeah, man, I think dropshipping is getting pretty crazy at anime cons. Like there are literally booths where literally everything they're selling is dropshipped, and I'm like, damn, I could buy like 4 of those items right there for like $15. Especially true for like, I think it's kind of good because like, say you're a kid or you're a parent, and you want an item for your kid that like, but you don't want to spend too much. You can obviously go and buy the item from AliExpress, But a lot of parents kind of walk in, they see I don't know, they see a prop weapon and they think like, oh, like, and the guy's like, oh, it's 75. But on AliExpress it's like 20. And listen, if you're looking for some high-end stuff, you can always find a really good, part maker, prop maker. But like for the average person, an average Joe, maybe they don't care. But if you're not necessarily a penny pincher, but a person who's wise with their money, that's the best way to put it. Yes, a person who's wise with their money. It's always best to check this from the places where they might be getting it from, which is either AliExpress, Temu, or I'm trying to think of a third one. There was a third one I'm blanking on. Alibaba or the TikTok store. That's literally a dropship place too. So just always be mindful when you're going to these conventions. It's like, yes, this thing looks cool, but maybe it's being resold, aka drop shipped from, a cheap site, which you might as well just get it from there. But, at the end of the day, it's your money. Just remember that food at cons is not cheap. Or if you're just trying to save for Korean barbecue after, which
Besides spending money, what can you do at conventions? Various con activities. So one of the main things, and it's like more of these, it's more new and it's been popping up. I don't know how long it has been going for, but it's the implications, or not implications? What's the word? People started implementing ribbons for conventions. And these ribbons aren't like anything that you have to pay for, but these are things that you collect. These are things that you go on different hunts for. So for me at Comic-Con, they were doing something for Dragon Ball. I think it was Dragon Ball Superhero when it was first coming out. And they give you a piece of paper with the places where you can go to get different ribbons. And, it's not like you need these ribbons, but you get these, you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So they had ribbons of Gamma 1 and 2, Gohan, Piccolo. And you're like, oh, okay, that would look really cool on my badge. So you can just like put it on there. Another thing that's been going on for quite a while probably are scavenger hunts. I personally have never taken a part in these scavenger hunts before, but I know the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog, they always have scavenger hunts. If you follow them on Twitter, they will post something and it's like find the horse. So they would post a picture of the horse and you would have to go through the convention center or off site and find the horse. And if you do, you get a prize. And it's like, oh, okay, that was a pretty fun adventure.
You've never done one of those, really?
No.
Dude, what? You always give really good stuff. I know that, and again, sorry to inject here, but at Anime Expo Chibi past year, they were doing some things where they were giving away. I know they had like vendors participate. I think they had like there was a shirt, there was a Blu-ray, and then like some gift card. Oh man, dude, I literally found one of them, and as I was walking up to it, someone else had saw it too, and they were closer. And the guy looked at me, and he looked at me, and he hit me with that Thanos quote of, "I'm sorry, little one." It literally, it broke my heart, oh, man, dude. But they're so much fun, dude. You should definitely try those out. Those are a lot of fun, dude.
Yeah, I'll definitely will have to. I'll just have to probably just follow the bigger companies on Twitter because usually that's where they announce it. Sorry, pardon me. But, another thing that happens at conventions is after parties. And obviously these are meant for people that are 18 plus. After parties are a super fun thing to go to if you want to do something after the convention. And if you're not super tired after the convention. These are really just fun places just to go hang out and meet a lot of people. I know for me at Anime Riverside, I met a lot of cool people there, and that's just because I went to the after party. And I do follow them on Instagram. I'm like, oh, okay, these people are really chill and they're really cool. And there are a lot of activities to do after parties too. I know, obviously, there's like a DJ playing music, and you can go in and just dance. I remember when I went to Riverside, I went to go use the bathroom, and out of nowhere, I saw Jesus, and I went, Jesus, what are you doing here? he's like, I just got off the dance floor, man, and I'm sweating my ass off. And I'm like, I think I might be dead because Jesus is right here in front of me talking about how he danced on the floor. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Dude, that's what I think that's it's like definitely part of the con experience. You just be doing something and then out of nowhere you a character walks out. Like what's it called? I know that one time I went to a Taco Bell nearby a con and I saw a damn cloud and an Aerith getting Taco Bell. It's very surreal sometimes, you know? But before we keep moving on, actually, sorry, I want to touch on what you mentioned earlier about ribbons. Dude, so one of these days, I gotta get you to go to ALA. ALA is at least from what I've seen so far, it's the birthplace of the ribbon idea. It's their tradition, what they do there, and vendors have carried it outside of it too. But dude, the ribbons that people give out for at those cons are insane, man. One time, I got a ribbon one time for just saying a word. Like I was walking around and I saw like there was fries. I yelled out like, "Oh, dude, they got fries!" And a guy just walked up to me didn't just looked at me, didn't say a word, opened his bag and pulled out a ribbon. It was the fry ribbon, and he walked away. And it was almost like a hidden encounter, bro, like a secret quest. It's very interesting. There's a lot of ones like I know there's one where you can yell the One Piece is real, and they would give you ribbon too. Those are pretty fun. But man, dude, I would love to see more cons kind of do that stuff. I think that really helps build the community thing. And I know, and I'm tying this into the after parties thing because I actually have a friend who goes to a few after parties at ALA because he's tied in with the what's that thing called? I forget the name of the game. Arc Knights? Yeah, Arc Knights. He's tied in with the Arc Knights people, like a group of people do that, and they always host after parties. And one time there was a person at them giving out a ribbon, which is basically like I survived the Arc Knights after party. And and usually, like when you think an after party, you just think people dancing, which is the case, Not to say that it is not the case, 'cause that is most of the time. But you shouldn't rob yourself the opportunity to see what might happen at these events. Because listen, man, it's like Disneyland, but like with cosplayers. Because random things will happen, things you may have never experienced or seen in your life will happen at these conventions. But yeah, man, after parties are a lot of fun. I definitely recommend checking them out. Never rob yourself of that experience. That's I think that's the number one thing when you go to cons. You should always be open to trying something new, even if it seems a little jarring at first. Because hey, if I never took the chance to try a cosplay on, or to go to a maid cafe, as silly as that sounds, or to go to an after party, then I never would have had these interesting, fun experiences. I would have lived my life going like, huh, that looks interesting, and never have tried it myself.
No, yeah, definitely. I can definitely agree with that, especially when it comes to things that are kind of out of the ordinary, especially things like with maid cafes, because there's such a stigma around maid cafes. I know of a couple of my friends who weren't like familiar with the idea of maid cafes. They were like, "This is weird. Like, what are they, like strippers?" And I go, "No, no, they're not like strippers. It's just you kind of go there and it's like an experience. They put on a show for you. They either dance or they sing, and they serve you food. That's all it is. There's no like lewd aspect to it. It's just you kind of just go there just to have a fun time, and that's about it." But I definitely do agree with you on the fact of like there are a lot of random encounters that are just going to happen at conventions, and it's always nice to see those because you never it's for the most part you want things going according to plan. But sometimes random things just happen. Like you said, sometimes you're just going to see cosplayers in a Taco Bell and you're like, damn, that's really funny. I'm really glad I came to this Taco Bell at the specific time. Now I see Cloud eating like a chalupa. That's really funny.
Literally, dude. That's why I don't know. I think it's very interesting because sometimes people will dislike something just for the fact that it looks weird to them, but they've never tried it. That's why I think a lot of this stigma comes from because like that stigma of it being weird is would be propagated by the people attending versus the people hosting it. Because people hosting it's a very wholesome, fun experience. You go, they make you food, they do a little dance, and that's it. It's a dinner and show. It's no different than going to medieval times and going to eat and some food while you watch these guys like armor fight or joust in like a field. You know, something will always seem weird to you if you've never tried it before. So again, I've always urged, as I've urged in the first episode, don't rob yourself of the experiences. They're really fun. But speaking of experiences, I'll let Press take this one away here because I think he's got a bit more stories from the bigger examples of this, but yeah, press, take it away.
Yeah. So we're going to start talking about other things you do at conventions, and this includes panels. So if you don't know what a panel is, and if you're going to your first con, these are just places where you can go for some downtime from the main exhibit hall. So you're just going to go there, and it's just more like of a hangout thing. You can sit down and you just chill out, but there are people on stage and they will be talking about whatever subject that they will be talking about. So, for an example, there are bigger panels at San Diego Comic-Con, like Mortal Kombat, or, even the big ones in Hall H, Marvel Studios, DC. And then sometimes you have smaller ones. I know if you're an artist and you like to draw, they always have ones at Comic-Con where it's just drawing with Jim Lee, drawing with John Romita Jr. It's just a lot of things for these panels. And there's a lot of topics that happen. And I've never really been to one at anime conventions. I went to one, I think it was the Hasbin Hotel one, but that's because my girlfriend really wanted to go see it. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's do it. And it was still pretty cool. Just a bunch of fans just interacting with the cast of the show. And I know you can speak for this, Carlos, because you actually have hosted one of your own panels before.
Yeah, man, definitely. I think fad-led panels are really fun. It really gives a moment for the community to kind of come together and put something on for the community, which is like it's like it's a bit of showmanship, you know. That's why I think that people, if they've never gone to a con, should go, because if you ever feel like you want to do something with your free time and you feel like you give some time to do kind of dive into do something into that space, this is one of them. There are a lot of benefits of doing so. Don't get me wrong. It's like, the nice things where it's like, oh, they'll give you free tickets to a con usually, or oh my gosh, excuse me. Or they'll give you free tickets to a con, or they might even just give you like a small thing like, hey, a thank you or little note or whatever. But the best part is just kind of seeing how people react to the things that you're putting on. I know that for me and my friends, we put up together a panel of who's who and whether we think we have people have like voting if they are guilty or not. And it's a lot of fun because you see people really get into it, or some people really take it to the next level. I know that sometimes we put on some joke characters on there, like we put the Wonder Pets on. I don't know if you know what the Wonder Pets are, Presley. The little, what is the hamster, and then the duck, and then the turtle. But we put silly characters like those and just kind of see how the community will react to it. And they kind of take it because usually the community understands that these panels are for fun and will just run along with it. And then it's better even if you make also your own prizes. Almost like, think like if when you're in school and your teacher, makes like little prizes to give out during a competition with, between you and other students. Same thing. But those are a lot of fun to do. And if you ever feel interested in hosting one, do try to. Those are a lot of fun to do. And make sure to bring your friends along because it's way more funner to do with friends. And I'm hoping, you can join us one of these times, Press. I think you'd really enjoy that experience. I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah. Hopefully one of these days I can go to. But to move on from panels and the aspect of that, another thing you can do at conventions is going to cosplay meetups. And there are always a bunch of cosplay meetups at conventions. I know at Comic-Con there always is a Marvel and a DC cosplay meetup every year. But there are always a bunch of cosplay meetups that you can go to. This even goes for anime conventions. I know for the Animeverse at Anime Pasadena, they always have their meetups posted on their website. And it makes it a lot easier for cosplayers to be like, oh, okay, see if they're doing a cosplay meetup for JoJo. And usually, for the most part, you will find a JoJo cosplay meetup on their website. And it's not like the organizers are hosting this. These are just other cosplayers that want to meet up with everyone and just have a photo shoot.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, man. I don't know if you ever gone to one yourself, Presley. Oh no, we have actually. We've gone to one together, the Spider-Man one. That one was a lot of fun with everyone trying to act in character. We even met, what was his name? I forget his handle. The guy dressed as Doctor Strange. Was it Rick? He's Rick, right? Yeah, he was really sweet. And I think coffee meetups, especially if you're going as a solo person, these are really fun if you ever want to go to make friends. These are definitely places to do it. I think panels and other places are also really good places to do it. But this is another instance. It's just more so what you're comfortable being with. I know that some people feel more confident when they're in cosplay to kind of go talk to some people. So this might be the avenue for you to do it. Because you never know, you might just see like a group of everybody. Like I saw a Smash Bros. One a year or two ago, and there was like a good part of the roster, at least from like the melee roster. I don't know if you have any of your own stories on costume meetups before we move on here, Presley, but
Yeah, I definitely do. I know at Comic-Con when I went to the Marvel cosplay meetup, the guy dressed up as J. Jonah Jameson, and he wasn't part of the shoot, but he just kind of popped up out of nowhere and just started like bad mouthing everyone, but in character, bad mouthing in character, just like messing with everyone, and everyone's like booing him, and it's like we're all there just like we all know it's an act, and we're all just having fun, and before we even move on to the next topic of, I just want to touch on like the do's and don'ts of these cosplay meetups. So, as Carlos said, these are a great space to, dip your foot into the water of meeting people. It is wise just to remember personal boundaries and not to touch anyone, or, if they have props, don't mess with their props. And especially if you're a newcomer, I know the spotlight can get to you really quick, and you're like, oh, okay, I want to be in front of the photographer at all times. But you do have to realize everybody also wants a piece of that spotlight. Remember just to step back for a bit and either go on the side or go in the back so anyone else can get the spotlight.
I definitely agree on that. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
my bad.
You're good.
I definitely agree on that. It's also important to be mindful that your level of comfortability is not the same as everybody else's. So if you see somebody that's kind of struggling to, feel comfortable in the situation, just try to gauge it. Usually, do your best to kind of be like, hey, if they seem comfortable or they seem uncomfortable with like the scenario, or they seem kind of anxious, you can talk to them. But if they seem like they're uncomfortable with the conversation, maybe give them some space. Sometimes some people just need space, especially when they're either anxious or just not in the mood to talk. And I'm not saying this to kind of deter you from talking to anybody at these meetups, but just try to be mindful of others. That's all. That's all that people usually ask.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that 100%. Just know personal boundaries and know when to take, cues from other people. If they don't feel like talking, you'll obviously be able to tell. And another thing before we move on is, if someone needs help, make sure to offer a hand. Make sure to ask them if it's okay that you're allowed to touch them, and be like, okay, if you need help with the zipper, okay, I'm going to go zip it up for you. Are you cool with that? Perfect. Let's do it. But to move on from this topic, and kind of in tandem of what we're talking about, is going to be con etiquette. One of the main ones that I think is very important is standing in lines and not blocking other people from walking. I know this might seem like a weirder thing to be like, oh, okay, I didn't really think about that. But it is something that is a huge problem, especially at larger conventions. For the most part, this is so busy, sometimes walkways are going to be covered up, and sometimes people can't get to booths. So you just want to keep in mind, or just be mindful, that if you are standing in the middle, it might be better just to stand on the side for a little bit if you need to put something away, or if you need to text someone, just stand on the side and take that. The next one I think is very important too is photo etiquette. It's make sure you always approach them first before taking a photo, instead of just pulling out your phone and just taking a photo sneakily. For most conventions, people are very nice. They are very understanding. And, this is what they live for. They cosplay so they can get photos taken with them. It's always, and just, they want that because they worked very hard on their cosplays. So it's very scary at first. Don't get me wrong. I've had my share times where I'm very scared to go up to this cosplayer and ask them for their photo. But, you go up to them. Hey, I really like your cosplay. Can I take a photo with you? And most of the time, if not almost 100% of the time, they're going to be like, yeah, for sure. And then after that, you can ask them for their Instagram and be like, hey, can I tag you? I'm going to post this. I just want people to see your cosplay.
All this to say, all you really got to do is ask. And the majority of the time, that'll help eliminate a lot of barriers for communication. So just try to be mindful of others. Make sure to ask for consent to either take a picture, to assist them with something, and so forth. And you might make a mistake. Just make if you ever make a mistake on something and either assume or mishear what they might say, apologize. It doesn't take much to apologize. Be like, hey, I'm sorry. Like I misheard this, or I thought it was okay to do this, but then and just apologize.
No, yeah, definitely. Sometimes things can be misheard, and a simple apology goes a very long way. And this also ties into the aspect of, cosplay does not equal consent. If you don't know what that means, it's basically, for the longest time, some group of men, for the most part, kind of took cosplay as consent, that you could basically do whatever you want because you are dressing up as a character, and this basically negates them of all responsibilities of what they do. So this kind of led to a lot of harassment for women cosplayers. So this is why it's always important to make sure to ask first before doing anything with both male and female cosplayers. Just respect their boundaries and, don't touch them. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree on that one. At conventions, it's always important to remember that you should make somebody feel at a convention how you should want to be felt. Or let me do that again. Hold on. It's always important to remember conventions that it's important to make others feel as comfortable as you would like to be, you know? And if not more so. Be like, hey, like if someone seems like they're uncomfortable with something, take a step back and give them their space. And if someone tells you no when it comes to a picture or anything else, it's a no, it's a no. Just take it at face value and go about your day.
Yeah, definitely. And it's totally forgot to bring this up. But if you see a cosplayer eating, do not ask them for a picture. I have seen this happen multiple times, and people will be like, oh, your cosplay looks super cool. Can I get a picture? It's like, hey, man, I'm in the middle of eating right now. Can we do it later?
Yes, that is so real. Has it happened to you, man? Because it's happened to me. Me and my friends were eating, and we were just kind of sitting there. We're literally all like tired. We're like borderline like the wigs are gonna like come off. We're gonna take them off, and then we're just like about to eat. We're barely about to eat, and then someone's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are like these characters. Can we take a picture with you?" And literally, I looked at everybody else, and everybody looked at me, and I was like, "I'm sorry, man. We're eating. Maybe after."
I personally have not gone through that, thankfully, but I know it's a huge problem with a lot of cosplayers. And just to end things off real quick, and this even goes for vendors and in Artist Alley. A lot of times, if you go into Artist Alley, they will have a sign that says "Don't photograph without the artist's permission." And this is because art can be easily stolen at conventions. If you just take a picture of it, it can be easily traced. So a lot of times, if you go to these local artists who make their own art, make sure to ask them first before taking any pictures, because you might see something that that your friend would like, and you want to send them a picture and be like, oh, would you like this? Would it be cool? But just make sure to ask the artist for their permission. And of course, only support when you can. I know a lot of people, when they go to Artist Alley, they are scared to just go up to artists and just look at their work and not buy anything. It's not like you're forced to buy anything. A lot of artists and Artist Alley don't want to pressure anyone into buying their art. Most of the time, they're just there for a good time, and they want to have good conversations with other people. That's what they're there for. So if you see something that you really like and you can't afford it, just tell them like, hey, I really love your art. Is there social media that I can follow just so I can see your art? Or is there like a store that I can buy your art from?
Hmm. And also, it's also a good practice because sometimes, although you might not have money for something at that moment, maybe you have money for it down later down. Maybe you'll have money for it later down the line, and you can find out what con they're going to be at next.
Yeah, definitely. I know that has helped me out a lot because I sometimes don't have the money to afford the art, but I do really like the artists, and I end up following them on Instagram, and they usually post their schedule, and I'm like, okay, perfect. They're going to be at this convention. I'm going to go to this one, and so I can finally buy what I wanted. Or sometimes they might tell you that they don't have something with them on hand, and they'll be like, oh, but you can go to my website or you can go to my Instagram and just ask me there, and I can give you the art when I get back to my home. To finally close things off, so just a little quick recap of the episode. So we finally talked about Con Crunch and how it's an unavoidable nightmare. No matter what, if you think you can avoid it, good luck. Getting into character, warming up both physically and mentally, and just
Don't pull a hamstring.
yeah, don't pull a hamstring or pull like any muscle in that fact. Traveling with cosplay, do you wear when you go to the convention, or do you wait to get ready at the convention, or do you have the luxury of having a hotel so you can get ready there? Spending at conventions, make sure to be very mindful with your spending. Don't impulse buy. We all have that problem because we want that instant dopamine hit, but it's okay just to look around for a bit. And what to avoid buying: bootlegs and drop shipped items because you can get them at a cheaper price. Various con activities ranging from panels to after parties to scavenger hunts and finding ribbons, cosplay meetups, and finally con etiquette. And just to end things off here, hopefully for our next episode, we will finally have a guest. We will have a cosplayer joining us, and we will be talking to them about their experiences and just their opinions on the convention scene.
Hope you guys look forward to it. Should be pretty fun. But until then, this has been your host.
I'm Presley.
And I'm Carlos.
And this has been Pros and Cons. Catch you guys in the next one.